Part 21. I became the richest man in the world by making meatballs. Author, Lan Shan Lu Zy. Chapter 201. These are the people who fainted last night and have never watched the video of Shen Shenxiang being whipped. Therefore, they really don't know how Shen Shenxiang could become like this. If the third princess hadn't shouted, they really didn't realize her identity. Yes, your face has been slapped. How can this be so good? Disfigurement is difficult to treat. If you leave some scars or something, your life will be ruined, and your identity will not be on the table. If you have flaws, those noble families will not accept a daughter-in-law like you. Oh, the person who did it was really cruel. Sister Sixiang is just a little arrogant, bad-mouthed, and annoying, but she didn't hit her so hard. Yao Wengxian, Zhuangshu, and others, who were watching on the sidelines, are you sure you are trying to comfort people and not expose their shortcomings? Sure enough, Shen Xiang, who was helped to stand up by several maids, was not comforted. Instead, she glared at the noble ladies with a pair of red bloodshot eyeballs, looking like an evil ghost, as if she wanted to. They looked like they were being eaten alive. If this were done at night, it would really scare someone to death. Qin Yushan also had an ugly face and glanced at them coldly. Without even looking at the occasion, so many people started sarcastic. It was almost impossible for anyone to get on the stage. She stopped her and said, "Okay, don't say anything." Then she turned back to Shen Xiang's hot-eyed face. She tried her best to soften her stiff voice and said soothingly, "Xiang, I know you are suffering. Please tell me what happened to you. I will seek justice for you." Shen Shenxiang rolled her eyes with resentment, and a hint of fear flashed in her eyes. "Really, can you really seek justice for me?" Qin Yushan was also making plans in her mind, with a slight smile on her face, and the golden light fell on her body. Even the dirt on her skirt could not affect her magnanimity. She was like a Madonna under the light, which made people admire her. Believe her words easily. Shen Shenxiang's nose became sour, and she immediately trembled, gritted her teeth and said fiercely, "Yes, it was that woman, the Star Master of Muyuan Star, who did it. She whipped me like this yesterday." Qin Yushan's eyes lit up, and she realized that she had grasped the handle. Men would not like such a cruel woman. "Okay, I'll take you to find her to argue. You are a pure and beautiful girl, why should she treat you like this? Is this the way the Muyuan Star Master treats guests? If that's the case, this Muyuan, it doesn't matter if we don't come to you and seeing, if another Wang Ziyi appears, we tourists will also be in danger." The uninformed tourists who had just arrived today were stunned when they heard these righteous words, and even the buns and donkeys rolling in their mouths no longer tasted good. Seeing Qin Yushan walking like flying with the majesty of a royal princess, she rushed towards the village with righteous indignation. The onlookers were not in a hurry to pick fruits and vegetables. They also held the buns and turned around, quickly returning to the village to watch the excitement. One is the third princess of the royal family, the most popular representative of the royal princess on the Star Network, and the other is the recently hotly discussed Star Master of Muyuan. No matter how you look at it, it is a big attraction. If you miss it, you will regret it for 10,000 years. Lao Liuguan Cao, who was in Cao's camp and his heart was in Han, had already decided to move to Muyuan Star and become a star citizen, said anxiously, "Fourth brother, Adjutant Chuang, let's go in quickly. What if something happens to my second sister-in-law? What should we do? We have to help her." Lao Qi also nodded seriously beside him. Yes, these ladies are the most unreasonable. They can't take action yet. What if the second sister-in-law can't persuade them? Yao Wengxian touched his chin and smiled helplessly. "Don't worry, nothing will happen to your second sister-in-law if anything happens to her. She is very powerful." Zhuangshu looked strange and nodded silently, agreeing with Yao Wengxian's point of view. but Guan Xiao couldn't listen, and was still very worried about his future star master. They walked slowly, so he pulled Lao Chi to follow them quickly. On the way, he saw the embarrassed woman named Shen Xiang being limped by a maid. The way they walked away, being left behind by that third princess, made them even more convinced that the third princess had come to cause trouble with their second sister-in-law on purpose. In the courtyard where 3 large pots are placed. "What, she's not here? You won't lie to me, will you?" Qin Yushin frowned and looked suspiciously at the girl with cold white skin in front of her. Although she was wearing old clothes, she looked cold and beautiful, and asked with a cold look in her beautiful eyes. Milan raised her eyelids, with a cold expression on her face. "What's the point of lying to you? If people are here in such a big place, you can't see. Are you blind? I said I won't be here if I'm not here. If you don't believe me, go find it yourself and don't delay our work." After these few days of settling and watching, the Milan girl has very complicated feelings towards the current star master. On the one hand, she cannot forget the persecution of their family by the previous star master, and on the other hand, she instinctively knows that this star master is different, at least now she is different from someone like Wang Ziyi. She shouldn't vent her hatred for Wang Ziyi on her, so after the persuasion of other star citizens, she kept calm and adopted the attitude of a bystander. His attitude is that he doesn't hate her but doesn't force himself to accept her and like her. But towards people from outside the Muyuan planet who are looking for trouble, her attitude is the same as that of other star citizens, which is unanimously exclusive, especially since the woman in front of her is unkind. Qin Yushin didn't expect that before the real owner was found, he was attacked by a little girl first. She was angry, but when she thought of the large group of people following behind her, she still maintained her elegant smile. "Little sister, I'm sorry, I was so angry just now that I spoke impulsively. I am Qin Yushin, the third princess of the empire. Can you tell me where am you star master now? I have something urgent that I want to explain to her." Milan was not fooled by her, and still looked at her with cold eyes. "I don't know." Ye Yongxiang next to her was shocked by Qin Yushin's self-reported identity. She pulled Mi Ian's arm, thinking that they couldn't afford to offend this person. She said cautiously and humbly, "I just heard our star master and her husband say that they were going to the back mountain to check the status of land reclamation. They are probably going there now." Qin Yushin glanced at her with satisfaction and smiled elegantly at her. "Thank you, Auntie." After finishing speaking, he glanced at the girl Milan provocatively. Ye Yongxiang tugged her lips and forced a smile. "No, you're welcome." After Qin Yushin led the people away in a grand manner, Ye Yongxiang breathed a sigh of relief, but heard Milan frowning and saying displeasedly, "Aunt Yun, the star master is from our Muyuan star." Ye Yongxiang paused and said coquettishly, "Aren't you just telling me your whereabouts? We can't afford to offend someone with the status of the third princess. There are many star lords who will understand us. I became the richest man in the world by making meatballs." Author, Lanshan Luzi. Chapter 202. As the morning sun passed, the light rose sharply, and the temperature of the Jupiter star also increased accordingly. Coupled with the water vapor condensed from the surrounding lush trees, the entire giant forest became warm and humid. "Hey, hey, hey, hey." When Qin Yushin led a group of onlookers to the top of the back mountain, she heard passionate and enthusiastic chanting from a distance. "We'll be there soon." By the sound, one of the tourists was really tired from climbing. He supported his waist with one hand and wiped the sweat from his forehead with the other and said feebly, "Come on, it's so humming hot. I don't know where they got the energy from. They are shouting slogans so loudly. Maybe he's poor. Alas, if I had known better, I wouldn't have come to watch the show. It's such a damn disaster. Fortunately, this place has just recovered not long ago, and there aren't many mosquitoes and bugs. Otherwise, I wouldn't be happy to climb the mountain." Yes, but why do we have to climb up on two legs? Can't we use a flying car instead? This question is quite good. Everyone who climbed the mountain to watch the excitement looked at each other, and then they all fell into silence. Hey, who said they wanted to walk? Why didn't they think of taking a flying car just now? It's not like you can't afford it, they have it in Nuri. Okay, it seems that the third princess is leading the way, so I don't have the nerve to take the flying car. One person stammered, and the others all looked at Qin Yushin in the front, their eyes suspicious and subtle. Does the third princess still like to climb mountains? Can't. Will people who really like mountain climbing wear high heels? Although it is a little shorter than the pair of crystal high heels yesterday, it is not the equipment that should be worn for mountain climbing. Look at the pair of stiletto heels under her feet. They are now covered in black mud. It was so dirty that all the exposed toes were damaged. The same is true for the few noble ladies following her. A pair of exquisite high-heeled shoes is like a fairy entering the mortal world. After being stained with mud, it is not even as good as a mortal's straw sandals. Could this be some elegant hobby of noble ladies climbing mountains? Puyi and others, no, 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 it has nothing to do with your noble daughter, it's all the third princess and others' own hobbies. Qin Yushin's body froze, and her face now completely lost the elegant and calm princess demeanor she had just before, and she could only maintain a fake smile on her face mechanically. Judging from the situation, her overall condition was very bad. The pores on her face were dilated and red, and she was wet with sweat. The two locks of hair hanging down on both sides of her forehead were stuck to her cheeks. Her originally delicate makeup was also wet with sweat. The evaporation became less docile. The most obvious thing was the black mark floating on the lower eyelids of her eyes, as if she had used low-quality mascara to take off her makeup. This was very embarrassing. The key is that she is still breathing with her mouth open, her lips are white and a layer of white dead skin has surfaced, and her eyes are dull and a little wandering. She looks like a mermaid stranded on the beach and her skin has peeled off. Hearing the people's comments and the strange looks that were shot at her from time to time, Qin Yushin's heated brain roared, and then she gritted her teeth and resented that she hadn't just heard that a few idiots didn't bring their flying cars. If she had flown away with a whoosh, if she catches them but doesn't follow her, then where can she find support and who can she perform for? Now it's her fault. If I had known why she would suffer this. Before he could find trouble, he had to suffer a lot first. However, the noble princess persona could not be broken. She insisted on smiling and trying to remain elegant and said to everyone, I originally thought that this mountain is not high. Climbing the mountain is just a good way to exercise. Everyone sits here on the main star all year round. This time I had a chance to exercise, so I took it upon myself to hike up the mountain. However, exercise also requires relaxation. Since everyone is tired and the exercise effect has been achieved, let's use the speed bike next. After all, Qin Yushin has the high status of the third princess. When she said it so artistically, everyone could no longer complain. They laughed and said princess is right and then dispersed one by one, working together to solve this stupid thing. Revealed. Qin Yushin forced a smile and breathed a sigh of relief. Then she took out the speed car and stepped on it gracefully. The maid behind her also hurriedly helped Shen Xiang, who was dying and her eyes were blurred, to sit up. When the other ladies saw this, the two with the highest status climbed up, while the rest took out another flying car and dragged their tired bodies up. After climbing into the car, where no one could see them, each of the noble ladies could no longer maintain their image and collapsed on the spot. Qin Yushin also relaxed and planned to rest on the luxurious seat she had equipped, but she didn't expect that she had. Just as he leaned down, the person next to him jumped up suddenly, and then let out a piercing scream, "Ah, it's over, my makeup is ruined, what's going on? I obviously bought the most expensive one from Shui Yang's house. This is a new luxurious and upgraded product. Isn't their flagship product waterproof? Why does it take off your makeup? The noble girl screamed heartbreakingly, sincerely. Qin Yushin's heart tightened as well. Oh no, she was using this product to shine today. Could something go wrong? She also hurriedly took out the mirror like the other lady on the speed train. Then there were two more heart-rending screams in the flying car. At the same time, the ladies on the other speeding car also screamed and screamed like a dead mother. The onlookers who were still there before they could fly away plucked their ears, stopped and turned to look at the two speeding cars suspiciously, with expressions of confusion on their faces. What happened? What happened? You're screaming like a slaughtered pig. Isn't it said that noble ladies are gentle-spoken and smile without showing their teeth? Could these people have slipped through the cracks in your daughter's education? Guan Cao looked at the two speeding cars with a confused expression on his face. These three princesses look stupider than me. It seems that there is really no need to worry too much. Lao Chi nodded in agreement from the side. Well, the fools on the garbage planet are smarter than her. If you want to go to a far place, you will have to ride a broken speed car if you don't have enough physical strength. Yao Wengxian and Zhuang Shu also stood calmly and watched the play happily, and after hearing the words, they also agreed with a few words with a smile. The four of them are particularly different among a group of mountain climbing tourists. They have all been trained to climb 3 mountains in one go without blushing and out of breath. Where are they now? This little journey is just to warm up. They can also walk leisurely while eating hot vegetarian buns and rolling donkeys. It was Guan Cao who was a smart foodie. He had secretly dragged the other 3 people to buy breakfast while the third princess was talking to someone, and then followed the large group while eating, so that he could eat and rush on the road. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. I became the richest man in the world by making meatballs. Author, Lanshan Luziy. Chapter 203. Only the noble ladies present in Puyi who had separated from the third princess team knew what the third princess and the others were shouting. They could clearly see how the 3 princesses were taking off their makeup just now. I even secretly took photos. The release of these ugly photos became a hot topic at the banquet. Fortunately, they stopped in time after watching the video last night and learned a lesson. Otherwise, they might have been as miserable as the 3 princesses and left behind ugly photos and emoticons. This was all before Ms. Feng took action. It might be even worse if Ms. Feng took action. The screams in the car lasted for a minute before they gradually subsided. The people inside were busy repairing makeup and had no time to shout. They are looking for trouble, so naturally they have to maintain graceful posture and perfect makeup, otherwise they will become clowns instead of messengers of justice. Qin Yushin's back was straight, she quickly retouched her makeup, and quickly changed into a pure white palace dress in the spacious speed car. The white dress was fluttering, as holy as a fairy. Your Highness, third princess, we are here. The maid warned from the front. Qin Yushin and the ladies in the car immediately sat upright and looked down the glass window. I saw a group of big men in black suits chopping down a giant tree that could only be carried by more than 10 people. The rest of the star citizens in casual clothes were scattered around the valley weeding. But that's not the point. The point is the 4 people sitting on the 3 deck chairs and a throne under a giant pomegranate tree in the valley. The one lying on the far left of the 3 recliners is a man. He has his eyes closed. His handsome face is as flawless as if it had been kissed by a god. Even when he is sleeping, he looks lazy and casual. Damn it! Nice. Lying on the chair in the middle is their acquaintance Feng Tanggui. This little pepper is not easy to mess with. She gave them a showdown just after they arrived at Muyuan Star yesterday. Among the 4 of them, she is the most energetic one. He was holding an optical brain there, and he didn't know what he was doing with his hands. Her pretty, Rose-like face was filled with a joyful smile, and from time to time she would talk to the woman on the recliner on the right. And the woman on the recliner on the right didn't need to guess. She must be the person they wanted to cause trouble this time, the Star Master of Jupiter. They still don't know what her name is, so they can only feel aggrieved now and either call her Star Master or Mrs. Feng. As for the soft-boned woman leaning lazily on the throne on the far right, they are even more familiar with her. Isn't she the only female prince in the empire? Yesterday, she and the star leader of Muyuan Star had a fight and talked harmoniously together. They thought it was a face-saving project, but now that the scene came out, maybe they really weren't just doing a face-saving project before. Look what these two women are doing. His Royal Highness personally peeled off the pomegranate and gave it to the star owner of Muyuan Star. The star owner of Muyuan Star smiled and took it and then gave her a piece of cut peach. The two of them looked at each other with happy smiles on their faces. One was charming and charming, the other was soft and beautiful. Her smile was like the dawn, thrilling. Damn, not to mention how dazzling it is. Good guys, they are working hard to climb up the mountain to find trouble, but these two people are here to take a leisurely vacation and eat fruits. Can this still make them happy to find trouble? The most important thing is that the Star Master of Jupiter is damn good looking. Is it because I agreed to wear a mask and not show up because it disfigures me? Damn, rumors are lies again. Facing that astonishingly beautiful face, they even lost their momentum to find trouble. Qin Yushin tore the handkerchief fiercely, the gloomy and sharp light in her eyes was like substance. She knew that this woman was her strong enemy. The arrangement she made last night was indeed correct. Only by getting rid of her could she possibly grab Feng Yuyu to his side. Bai Qianchun raised her eyes with awareness, and when she saw the cool flying car not far away, she narrowed her eyes coldly. Qin Yushin was so frightened that she trembled, but she quickly came back to herself and comforted herself. The windows of the speeding car were specially made. It was impossible for the outside to see inside. The woman's piercing eyes were definitely not directed at her. Wow, sister-in-law, what a good start below, Feng Tanggui shouted in surprise after seeing an order on the page, and then turned sideways to share with Bai Qianchun happily. Hey, look, sister-in-law, 100 caddies of grapes have been sold. Let me just say, the fruits of Muyuanxing must be very popular. I have a lot of experience in selling fruits. Sister-in-law, are you watching? What? Bai Qianchun looked away, her eyes fell on Feng Tanggui's face, the corners of her mouth raised a smile again, and she shook her head. It's nothing, just an annoying fly. What did you just say? I sold an order. Bai Qianchun is very fast. Yesterday she said she would take advantage of the Feng family's transport ship. Today she arranged the matter. First she had to sell the fruit before she needed to transport it, so she invited Feng Tanggui and Cao Jiajia to come in the morning. Help. However, Cao Jiajia didn't know much about opening a Xinhuang store, so she didn't participate and stayed with Grandpa Mizu to serve as a dispensing boy for Grandpa Mizu and her great-grandfather Cao Teng. Feng Tanggui had helped Bai Qianchun sell fruit in the aristocratic circle before. She checked a lot of information and knew a little about this industry, so she took the initiative to ask Yang to help apply for a store and act as customer service. When Bai Qianchun asked about it, she moved the optical brain interface over excitedly. Yes, sister-in-law, look quickly, this is the backstage. When the store opens, Xinhuang will give out a free small recommendation slot. Only in 15 minutes, I had just put up the big black pearl grapes and big cherries, and someone already placed an order for big grapes. Oh, someone has placed an order again, and bought 100 caddies of grapes and 300 caddies of cherries. Hee, there are so many rich people, and the prices of these two items are not low. Hey, here comes another one. It can't work. Sister-in-law, I have to put the other fruits up quickly, otherwise they won't be so easy to sell after the 15 minutes of recommendation. Fortunately, sister-in-law, you had the foresight to let people take pictures of all kinds of fruits in advance. Photos of fruit so it's much easier to edit. Bai Qian-chun listened to the ding-dong order coming from Feng Gui, with a happy expression on her face. She stopped eating the pomegranate and said, "Wai Wei, please add the background permissions. I am alone, and I will learn from you how to put products on the shelves. It is faster for two people to put products on the shelves together." "Hey, okay, sister-in-law, just wait, I'll do it right away." Fen Yu, who was sitting on the other recliner, had opened his eyes at some point. He was stretching out half of his body to look over. His voice was hoarse and lazy as if he had just woken up, and he said quietly, "Give me some permission, too. I'll help you." No, I'm busy today and don't have enough time, so I can only update 2 chapters. Go to bed early, my dears, good night. I became the richest man in the world by making meatballs. Author, Lanshan Luzi. Chapter 204. Feng Gui took a moment to glance at him. "Can you do it?" Fen Yu snorted with a sweet nasal voice, "It doesn't matter what I study. I am the first graduate of the economics department of the first military academy. Why is it difficult to put products on the shelves? Give me the authority quickly." Okay, Feng Gui was deeply pleased with the rare diligence of her lazy cousin. Looking at the beautiful sister-in-law on the right, "Hey, men in love are different." The 3 people who had obtained the authority moved back to their original recliners. Although they were still lying lazily, they had serious expressions on their faces, and they were putting products on the shelves with flying fingers. The expressions and movements of the 3 of them were exactly the same, and they looked like a family. Qin Yushin clenched her fists bitterly, with resentment hidden in her eyes, and the desire for destruction in her heart was ready to stir up. The anger was brewing for 3 seconds before she burst out, "Go down and find them." After saying that, she grabbed the control of the speeding car. Regardless of the fact that the autopilot mode was still running, she forcefully seized the control. As soon as the push rod was pushed, the power was increased, and it flew downwards with a whooshing roar. A group of big men in black below showed their magical powers, slashing with fire knives, slashing with golden knives, and pulling up the earth elements. Finally, they cut down the huge tree with only the last trace left. In the end, they worked together till he pushed it away with a hiss, and the thick tree fell backwards with its dense crown. Suddenly, there was a bright light above the head. But before the sweaty group of people could finally cut down another tree, they saw a speeding car flying towards the direction of the fallen tree. Hiss! The happy faces of the men in suits immediately turned into frightened faces, and they waved their arms and shouted at the speeding car, "Run, you guys run!" Qin Yushin, who was dominated by anger, could not react, but the pupils of the maid and the other 2 ladies in the flying car had dilated, and they began to scream in horror, "Third princess, the tree has fallen, quickly, turn around quickly, help!" But it was too late. Qin Yushin's ferocious face turned to fear, and she was in a hurry, unable to control the speed of the car to avoid it. The big tree fell down on the speeding car. In addition to their unlucky luck, the direction in which the big tree fell had been cleared. There were no other trees to compete with it and delay it, so nothing could intercept the speed of its fall. The process from the time the tree was pushed to the moment it crashed down with a rumble and the speeding car was pressed underneath was only 2 seconds. At the same time, the speed car that followed Qin Yushin and contained several other ladies was also affected and was knocked down by the dense and huge tree canopy. He was thrown away with a bang, knocked dizzy against a giant tree in the distance, and then fell down. Everyone. For a while, the scene was quiet except for the screams coming from the car. There was no need to change clothes in the speeding car. Puyi and others, who did not slow down during the ride, had already arrived in the valley 1 step ahead of Qin Yushin and others. They just lingered in mid-air and did not come out. Now they happened to see this person. One scene. As the speeding car hit the ground with a bang, their little hearts beat hard twice, and their jaws almost dropped in shock. They never expected that the third princess and the others would be so unlucky. They died before leaving the army, and before they could even see Ms Feng in person, she had an accident first. According to the weight of this giant tree, no matter how well protected the speeding car is, the people inside will still have to hang on. The flying car that was thrown away was also uncomfortable. First it hit a tree hard, and then its engine was smashed. It fell heavily to the ground and caused a secondary impact. The people inside were also uncomfortable. Miserable, so miserable. Is it possible that Ms Feng really has some metaphysical color in her body, causing everyone who opposes her to suffer misfortune? This time they could see clearly that it was entirely the third princess's fault. Who knew they would suddenly speed up and rush under the shade of the fallen tree? If they followed the normal speed, the big tree would fall to the ground before they drove over, and he would not pose any threat to them at all, but now he. For a moment, Puyi and others felt mixed and a little lucky. Fortunately, they realized in time that they should not pry the mistress in the corner, otherwise they might be so unlucky today. Bai Qianchun, who didn't move his eyes away from the interface but heard movement, subconsciously asked, "What happened? What are they shouting?" Feng Yuya glanced at the accident scene indifferently, and said in a lazy voice, "It's okay, you continue, the 15 minutes now are the most critical, don't worry about that, it's not your Xingman's fault anyway." As he spoke, his peach blossom eyes looked pointedly at His Highness the Prince, who was still blowing out smoke rings. Qin Menyun's gorgeous red lips curled up, her seductive eyes painted with heavy colors looked towards him, and she said with a hoarse laugh, "You are such a precious wife, Tisk, okay, I'll take care of this matter." After finishing speaking, those charming eyes looked at Bai Qianchun again, "As long as you make satisfactory tobacco leaves for me, I can help you settle anything." Hearing this, Bai Qianchun stopped with her fingers, raised the corners of her mouth, and looked at Qin Menyun. "Didn't you see what I am capable of just now? It's just a cigarette leaf. Don't worry, I was delayed by something last night. I will definitely be able to do it this afternoon. Help you make it?" The light in Qin Menyun's eyes deepened slightly, and he smiled and glanced at the men who had been bruised after taking the pills. All of them had recovered, and had grown new flesh. Now they were able to jump around and chop down trees. The effect was indeed amazing, and the anticipation in her heart inevitably deepened. She raised her red lips and said, "Okay." Then she tapped the jasper-tubed women's pipe on the armrest of the throne, stood up, and walked gracefully towards the strong men in suits who were standing there with bewildered faces. Her charming voice was, "You said, what are you still doing? You are stupid. Hurry up and save people. Oh, save people, hurry up and save people." Several strong men rushed over to check the situation, and then called on their brothers to push down the tree and rescue him. "No, this giant tree is too heavy. Please bring in more people." The star citizens who were looking around hurriedly put down their work and came to help. The vines wrapped around the tree body, hung them on the branches of a giant tree in the distance, and then used their strength to pull together. The onlookers on the mid-air speedster also quickly rolled down to help, joining in the tug-of-war queue, shouting slogans, "Hey hey hey hey," everyone worked hard together. Our scene of a fight between three princesses over women hasn't even started yet. Suddenly, the situation takes a turn for the worse and turns into an inspirational rescue story about people being killed in the wilderness and everyone working together to save people. It's so outrageous. I became the richest man in the world by making meatballs. Author, Lanshan Luzi. Chapter 205. After 15 minutes passed and the ding-dong of orders in the background finally slowed down, Bai Qianchun also finished putting the last set of kiwi fruits on the shelves and stood up refreshed to go over to check on the situation. Fen Yuya glanced at her, tapped her slender jade-like fingers, put down his brain and sat up, his charming peach blossom eyes lazily raised slightly, and his eyes followed her figure. Only Feng Tanggui was still working diligently to put the fruits on the shelves. The fruits had been put on the shelves. There were many vegetables on Wuyuan planet, so they had to be put on the shelves. It happened that the soldiers under her cousin sent over photos of various vegetables. As her sister-in-law's good helper, Feng Tanggui continued to work without hesitation, editing pictures and descriptions, using the authority given by her sister-in-law and comparing the vegetable prices on the market to fill in a suitable price, and then put it on the shelves. Needless to say, Feng Tanggui really had fun putting it on the shelves, especially because her sister-in-law gave her absolute trust. This moved her so much. Her confidence became more and more abundant. The ding-dong sound coming from the backstage orders made her so excited. The joy level once reached its peak. Maybe she can also major in economics like her cousin. Here, Bai Qianchun walked to the scene. The giant tree holding the speeding car had been lifted up, and the speeding car was rescued from under the tree. The body of the car looks quite miserable. The upper part of the roof has been dented by the pressure, and the front of the car is even flattened. But fortunately, the speed car that Qin Yushin bought for a lot of money is not a brittle shell. The shell is defensive and has internal airbags. They all did a pretty good job and bought a lot of survival time for the people inside. Qin Menyun directed his men to pry open the car door and carry out the people inside. Qin Yushin was unlucky enough to sit in the front row. Even the bulletproof glass in the front row couldn't bear it because it cracked and shattered under the heavy pressure. The fragments happened to hit her face and body. However, the hardest hit area was the arm she subconsciously stretched out to cover her face. Superior. When Qin Yushin was carried out, her entire upper body was dripping with blood. She was struggling and screaming in pain. The long white dress she had just changed into was stained with blood red and clung to her body. The skirt was originally used to the ethereal feathers adorned with it were also soaked in blood and turned into a ball. In the blink of an eye, the icy saint turned into a distressed and dying old hen. Tisk tisk, just one word, miserable. In addition to her, the other noble girl sitting next to her was also in a miserable condition. Her condition was very similar to Qin Yushin's. Her upper body and arms were covered with glass slag, but due to timely shielding, most of her face was still protected. Compared with them, another noble lady, two maids, and Shen Sixiang sitting in the back seat were very lucky. There was a lot of space in the back. When the roof of the car was sunken, they fell down and shrank down, except for the glass. A few fragments were pricked and some blood flowed. Apart from being a little frightened, there were no other injuries. Shen Shenxiang, who was lying injured at the beginning, was especially lucky. There were two maids blocking her in front, and even the glass shards didn't hit her, so she only suffered the shock and impact. Another speed car was not as safe and defensive as Qin Yushin, but this one was better. After being rescued and confirmed by several noble ladies in Puyi, it was found that 2 of the people inside had fractures, 2 had concussions, and 3 had fainted. The one who had fainted, the 3 of them don't know the extent of their injuries yet, but it's certain that there are no injuries or bleeding on their bodies. The onlookers gathered in a circle with their faces full of sadness. Looking for trouble, he ended up taking the blame for himself, causing serious injuries and disfigurement in a car accident. This is no one else. If this incident spreads, Qin Yushin, the representative of the royal princess who has attracted much attention on the Star Network, will probably be ridiculed by the crowd. Who told her that she was labeled as elegant, calm, dignified and intelligent before? Now she has done this stupid thing, she can no longer be so stupid as to give her away for free, who will pay her bills and continue to behave like she is elegant, calm, dignified and intelligent. He's obviously an idiot, so smart. Qin Yushin, who still didn't know the consequences, was already crazy and completely emotionally collapsed. She slumped on the ground and tried to touch her face with trembling hands, but she couldn't do it. She could only vent her pain and madness by screaming, and she also faced Bai Qianshun, who walked over from the crowd, yelled bitterly, "It's all your fault, it's all your fault. If it weren't for your appearance, how could I be like this? I want to find my father, I want to kill you, why don't you die, ah." Bai Qianshun, so innocent. She shot a dagger at Feng Yuyu, who had followed him at some point, and snorted, "Lan Yan is in trouble." Feng Yuyu touched his nose and turned his handsome face to the side, feeling a little guilty. But then he felt a little aggrieved. He didn't provoke this woman on purpose. He had already tried his best to criticize her, but it was useless. These women just wanted his face and money. He was too good. Is this his fault? Feng Yuyu blinked, feeling very innocent. Pu Yi and other noble ladies around saw Qin Yushin going crazy like this and venting her anger on young Madame Feng. Now they came to their senses. It turns out that she also has a crush on young Lord Feng. No wonder she always likes to be with Shen Shenxiang. These noble girls who like to speak ill of Mrs. Feng and have no moral integrity are playing together. They are thinking of using them as vanguards, while he hides aside and pretends to be high-spirited. I have to say that this is a good move. They had been used as guns for a long time before, and they had gained a reputation as a gossip, while she was still being the beautiful, elegant, and virtuous good princess she was. But how could he be exposed now? Just because it's disfigured, but can't it be cured? Pu Yi thought quickly, looking at Qin Yushin's vicious and crazy eyes, frowning, puzzled. Since Qin Yushin has a deep mind and has been able to keep her composure for a whole year without revealing any flaws, there is no reason why she would collapse now and expose herself to the public without even leaving a fig leaf for herself. Similarly, Bai Qianshun also felt that something was wrong with Qin Yushin's current mood, but she didn't understand Qin Yushin and didn't want to understand, so she didn't pay too much attention to the strangeness in her body. She just resisted her scolding and remained silent. He walked forward with a calm and indifferent attitude and asked as usual, "Do you need help with treatment? My medical skills are not bad." After all, what happened on her Mu-UN planet was not her responsibility, but she still had to show her humanitarianism. In order to avoid trouble, Bai Qianshun didn't mind showing off. "Get out of here, get out of my way, don't try to harm me." Qin Yushin stared at her with red eyes, showing a strong rejection reaction. The two maids behind her also quickly came up to stop Bai Qianshun. They stood in front of Bai Qianshun. They said with vigilant expressions, "Master Star-Lord, our princess does not need your help to treat her. There are light-type aliens on our battleship, doctors, so please allow us to take the third princess out of here for treatment." You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. I became the richest man in the world by making meatballs. Author, Lanshan Luzi. Chapter 206. Oh, then you go. Bai Qianshun nodded and agreed happily, and took 3 steps back to show that he would never interfere. Oh, anyway, she didn't really want to treat the person who was clamoring to kill her. She was afraid that the woman was not finished during the treatment. When the time came, her temper would rise and her hands would shake, which would cause irreversible damage. All right. Why bother if you can't get the treatment fee and dirty your hands? The two maids did not expect that she would be so happy, so they did not take the opportunity to stumble. They were stunned for a moment, looked at each other, then bowed slightly, expressed their gratitude respectfully, and hurriedly helped Qin Yushin up from the ground. Took out the speed car and prepared to leave. The 2 ladies in the car with her, as well as the ladies in the other car, saw this and shouted in a panic, "Wait for us, we will go together." After finishing speaking, they glanced at Bai Jianchun fearfully and hurriedly helped each other get into the car. The three who fainted were also helped to get into the car by the men in black. The two speeding cars went one behind the other. Under the gaze of everyone, he flew quickly towards the starry skyport. The men in black scratched their heads, with blank faces on their faces. Is it over like this? Are you not going to cause trouble for us? What's strange is that although the main person responsible for this accident was the noble girls in the two speeding cars who brought it upon themselves, they still had some responsibility. They didn't find fault. Only the third princess faced Mu Yuan. Star-Lord said something resentful, but what does this have to do with Star-Lord? It's just baffling. Qin Menyuan glanced at them and saw that the old flesh and the new pink flesh on their faces were intertwined, which was very eye-catching. Her beautiful brows furrowed and she looked away in disgust. Then what do you want? The responsibility for the matter is not yours. Even if they come back to find trouble, I will be there to control them. Hurry up and go back to work. Don't try to be lazy. Hey, yes, Your Highness, the men in black responded cheerfully, and then hurriedly went to work. Quick, come here, it's this tree's turn, brothers, don't hold back, chop it down hard. I'm coming. As a result, the lumberjacks in full swing came online again, and the citizens of Muyuan Star returned to their posts and continued working when they saw that nothing happened to them. The remaining group of onlookers looked at each other in shock. Is this the end? However, although we did not see the passionate battle between the third princess of the royal family and Lord Muyuan Star, we did gain the grace, calmness, dignity, and intelligence of the third princess who unilaterally tore off the mask and stepped down from the altar in the live version. Speaking of which, this version is more explosive, coupled with the metaphysical color of Muyuan Star Master who finds trouble and who is unlucky. The gimmicks are enough, and it is much more exciting than the three princesses transforming into justice messengers to seek justice for the sisters. The onlookers were satisfied after reminiscing, and after saying hello to Bai Jianchun, the master of Muyuan Stars, they dispersed on their own initiative, planning to enjoy the wonderful picking experience while gossiping. Puyi also looked at Bai Jianchun in awe, then pulled the little sisters and left together. No matter it was His Royal Highness the Prince, young Lord Feng, or the cruel Muyuan Star Master Feng young madam, none of them dared to offend anyone. Bai Jianchun watched the speeding car whizzing away in all directions of Muyuan Star, then narrowed her eyes and landed on Shen Xiang who was still in the same place. That's right, she didn't follow Qin Yushan and others after they left just now, or she was deliberately left behind by them. After the crowd dispersed, she stood out. Bai Jianchun glanced at her lightly and dismissed her as air, turned around and walked back. Shen Xiang was anxious, gritted her teeth, held back the pain in her body, and chased after him, shouting, "Wait a minute." Bai Jianchun stopped and glanced sideways at her. What's the matter? Shen Xiang looked at her face, jealousy rolling in her heart, but for the sake of her face and injuries, she endured it for the time being. She pulled out a ghost-like smile, which made Feng Yuya twitch. The corners of her eyes wanted to cover Bai Jianchun's eyes and tell her not to look. It hurt her eyes too much. Shen Xiang noticed his disgusted look, and her heart boiled with anger, but so what? She had suffered too many compromises since she was a child, and this time she was still able to endure it, and she could even smile at Bai Jianchun. Can't you sell me a pill that just treated those people? I'm willing to pay 1 million star coins to sell it. Bai Jianchun raised her eyebrows, looked at her playfully, and then said decisively, "Not for sale." Shen Xiang looked at her angrily, but quickly calmed down her emotions and asked as pitifully as possible, "Why? You don't make any money anymore." The corners of Bai Jian's mouth turned up sarcastically. "Why, don't you know it yourself? In the past year, you have repeatedly said bad things about me in the circle, and at the banquet of the Sheng family on the main planet, You deliberately made a message let me know that the first person Fen Yu met when he returned to the main planet was not me, but Major General Baining, and he wanted to use this to sow discord between our husband and wife. Have you forgotten? The careless Fen Yu on the side narrowed his pupils, straightened his waist instantly, and shot a pair of peach blossom eyes sharply. He didn't expect that when he returned to the main star, he hurried to visit his eldest sister at home, but was deceived into attending the banquet, and there was such an incident. These damn women are really using all kinds of tricks for their own benefit. Good, very good. Fen Yu grinned at his molars, feeling very angry. He felt a chill in his heart when he thought of the words sent by the second heaven girl to scold him for being a pig's hooves, and the fact that this woman Bai Jianchun seemed to have prepared a birthday dinner for him. There is a strange feeling rising from the depths of my heart, but I can't seem to grasp it. Now he didn't dare to think deeply. He just stood upright and carefully turned his head to look at Bai Qianchun's face. He swallowed. He didn't go back and went directly to the military headquarters. He seemed to be a little sorry for her. Even if they were a fake couple, but she also took the trouble to prepare a birthday dinner for him. Did she also have feelings for him at that time? Fen Yu's jade ears were slightly red, and he didn't feel disgusted as if he heard other women confessing to him. On the contrary, he seemed to be a little excited and happy. Shen Shenxiang was shocked. How did you know it was me? She had hired a hacker to send the communication anonymously, and she had snooped on this woman's communication number when Feng Tanggui wasn't paying attention. No one except herself knew that the communication was sent by her. Bai Jianchun smiled lightly, but Shen Shenxiang felt chilled all over. She just heard her say, "I don't know. I just thought you were the most likely. I tested it casually. I didn't expect it was really you. I became the richest man in the world by making meatballs." Author, Lan Shan Lu Zy. Chapter 207. Shen Shenxiang choked and looked at her in disbelief. Her eyes had changed from anger to annoyance and panic at the revelation. You lied to me. She staggered 2 steps in despair. The existence of this causal relationship immediately shattered the hope in her heart to the ground. She knew that it was useless to ask for medicine. She gritted her teeth and straightened her back, planning to go back to the battleship. For the sake of it, for the sake of the Shen family, the third princess should lend her the light power user. Although it is definitely not as good as the pills that the woman just gave to those big men in black that make new flesh grow after eating, there is still a way. Just go to the light source star bubble sacred pond when the time comes. Just when she had thought of her way out, a cold voice suddenly came from her ears. Wait a minute, you don't think I'm so merciful that I'll let you go so easily? Shen Shenxiang was startled suddenly, and the dense pain all over her body reminded her of this woman's ruthless methods. She turned around and glanced at Bai Jianchun fearfully, and then glanced at the gloomy face of little Lord Fen next to her with fear. I felt chills all over my body, and the panic in my heart was magnified to the extreme. She swallowed and looked at Bai Jianchun with a trembling voice. Then, what do you want? There is nothing wrong with your relationship, and, besides, you beat me like this. Bai Jianchun took one look at her miserable state and said without any guilt, those are 2 different things. I taught you a lesson before because you dared to bewitch His Highness the Prince and rob my brother to be her 18th little man. But before, you sowed discord and said the matter of my bad words has not been resolved yet, and there must be punishment, otherwise you still have to treat me as a soft persimmon and think that I am easy to handle. Fen Yu looked sharply at the disgusting ugly woman in front of him, and agreed with his face, yes, it must be severely punished. Thinking about it, since he returned to the main star, this woman Bai Jianchun has become more and more angry. She often yelled at him and pressed him on the washstand mercilessly. It must be because of this ugly woman's divorce plan. The reason is that he doesn't hate Bai Jianchun, but he hates this ugly woman who uses tricks. Being stared at by 2 great gods with death rays, Shen Shenxiang was really scared. Her teeth were chattering, as if she was forced to the cliff and was just one step away from being pushed down into the abyss. Her body was shaky and her lips were trembling. His face turned white, he was so scared that he was about to collapse, and when he wanted to beg for mercy regardless of his face, he heard the woman in front of him say, "However, you are in such a miserable state, and you don't have a lot of good meat on your body. I am not a bad person who will not forgive others and force you to die to apologize. So, I heard that you are from Huana planet. You transport 10 kinds of 8 kinds of live livestock from Huana planet to make up a few hundred animals. Transporting my Jupiter star is just an apology gift. I won't sell you those pills. You can take them to Huana planet. Livestock with cubs in exchange." Shen Chengxiang's originally high-spirited heart stopped in time, and her head was so frightened that she couldn't turn around. "That's it?" Fen Yuyu, who was waiting for Bai Qianchun to use her as a drug tester and use the most vicious poison. His peach blossom eyes widened in shock, and he turned to look at the woman beside him. "You let her go so easily?" Bai Qianchun blinked. "It's not easy. I asked her to trade Huana Xing's live livestock. This is not an easy task. Du Le analyzed it last night. It is very difficult to buy live livestock from Huana planet." She also suddenly had an idea and remembered that Shen Chengxiang's hometown was Huana Star. She is also a branch of the Shen family of Huana Star, so it must be much easier than others to get some live livestock. I just took this opportunity to ask her for help, so I didn't have to worry about finding other channels. Fen Yuyu was speechless, and he immediately understood why she had just taken the initiative to expose what had happened on the main star. Just when he understood that what she just said was all for the sake of these domestic animals, he felt even more depressed. Is the feeling between them worth just a few domestic animals? Fen Yuyu pursed her thin lips and closed her eyes tightly, feeling that she had been hit. It's a good thing that they are not a real couple, otherwise he would definitely be angry and vomiting blood by now. After realizing this fact, his fluttering little jump was snapped back to reality. So Bai Qianchun was so cold-hearted and cold-hearted, was it because of this incident or because of her own personality? Fen Yuyu felt that he couldn't understand it again. Bai Qianchun looked at his unpredictable expression and ignored him. She turned her head and looked back at Shen Xiang, who was still stunned. "How are you considering it? Do you agree?" Shen Xiang groaned and nodded quickly. "Agree. Isn't it just some livestock from Huana Star? It's really simple for her. She also has several breeding farms under her own name, which can fully meet the requirements." "Star-Lord, Lord Star-Lord, I remembered that Shen Xiang from Huana Star is the daughter of the nobleman named Shen Jike who cheated Wang Ziyi and his wife. The construction team that contracted to build the Star-Lord's mansion is from her family." Of Ye Quan came out of nowhere and suddenly came out to identify. Bai Qianchun looked at Shen Xiang in front of her and suddenly realized that Ye Quan had mentioned to her before that Shen Ji, the person in charge of the scumbag project, had a daughter named Shen Xiang. It turned out to be Shen Xiang. She was really helpless. It takes no effort to find a place and get it. The son who paid his father's debt came to his door by himself. Shen Xiang, who had just breathed a sigh of relief, felt something in her heart. Shen Jike was indeed her father, and she was indeed brought by her father to live in Muyuwingxing under the previous rule of Muyuwingxing. She lobbied and deceived her father at that time. She happened to know something about the Star Lord, so she panicked. What should she do? Damn it, she was caught again. Bai Qianchun's eyes looking at Shen Xiang became more and more evil. They were really bad people. I was not a good thing, and my daughter was not a good person either. Tell me, do you want to pay compensation? Shen Xiang gritted her teeth tremblingly, and said one word with an ugly face, compensate. What else could she do if she didn't pay compensation? Now she had to bow her head under the eaves, especially when there was a glaring young Lord Fen next to him. With his cold and murderous eyes, she had no doubt that he could take action directly in the next second. Kill her, and then create a fig leaf for accidental death. Even if the Shen family finds out the truth later and attacks and annihilates the Feng family based on her death, what if she dies? No one will be sad for her. Her biological parents had died long ago, and her current position in the Shen family was all due to her pleasing the Shen family's mistress. She was the Shen family's mistress' favorite toy, and she could also serve as a useful stir-fry or a powerful tool when necessary. He was just a mad dog being used and commanded by the Shen family. Shen Xixiang lowered her eyes. Her pride and complacency outside the Shen family had been completely shattered from today on. I became the richest man in the world by making meatballs. Author, Lanshan Luzi. Chapter 208. Compared with Shen Shenxiang, who was in a depressed mood, Bai Qianchun's mood turned from cloudy to clear. She simply took Shen Shenxiang back to the recliner where she was just now, and let Shen Shenxiang sit on the wooden pile opposite, as if they were having a long conversation. I looked at the bills for that year. The total expenses of the entire Star-Lord's mansion totaled 5,083,005,631 star coins. I don't need to pay 10 for every false payment, so you can just compensate according to the original price. Shen Shengxiang's eyelids twitched as she calculated her net worth and property, and found that she needed to use the inheritance left by her parents to pay all the bills. This made her lips turn pale with anxiety, but she could only use her parents' inheritance. One of the capitals of survival in the Shen family. Bai Qianchun glanced over with threatening cold eyes. Why, if you can't take it out, then I. Shen Shenxiang gritted her teeth, fearing that she would say something threatening that could scare people out of their wits, so she quickly said, "Okay, I can take it out, but I need some time." "Well, that's okay, but we're not good friends, so we have to calculate the interest. If we owe you a day, we can give you a reed chicken as a gift. The market price of a reed chicken is 500 star coins, so the interest is very high." "It's low, what do you think?" Shen Xixiang felt relieved and said, "Okay, let's pay this interest rate." "Bai Qianchun, then let's talk about the compensation just now and the cost of buying the big healing pill. I heard that Huanaxing is most famous for its reed chicken, silky chicken, cherry valley duck, jinding duck, jinka cattle, sanhua cattle, and sheep beasts are some of the livestock with the best meat quality. Then let's start with 20 jinka cattle, 20 sanhua cattle and 50 sheep beasts. Small livestock require more 100 reed flowers, 100 cherry valley ducks." Bai Qianchun opened her mouth and said, "The price quoted is really cruel. This group of livestock can fill up half of the valley immediately." Shen Shenxiang looked ugly and wanted to bargain, but as soon as she opened her mouth, she hesitated to speak. Before Mrs. Feng could say anything, Lord Feng, who was watching eagerly next to her, glanced at her with a threatening and murderous look. Feng Yuyu's face had always been ugly, and he was listening with a smile on his face. He had long been dissatisfied with Bai Qianchun, a woman who used livestock as compensation, but he didn't dare to object, so he could only stare at her with hatred. Shen Xixiang could not wait to increase the number. The higher the number, the more important it would be. After several repeated attempts, Shen Shenxiang could tell what he was thinking. She shut up decisively and quickly agreed to the quantity requirements listed by Bai Qianchun. Bai Qianchun was a little surprised. She had deliberately quoted a higher price so that she could bargain for more later. She didn't expect Shen Xixiang to agree so readily. Bai Qianchun didn't delve too much into this. After discussing the quantity and transportation time, she didn't worry that Shen Shenxiang would break the contract, so she threw a big healing pill to Shenxiang. After Shen Shenxiang got the dark pill, she was overjoyed and couldn't wait to put it into her mouth. The 15 minutes before she swallowed it was the moment to witness the miracle. I saw that the flesh on her face that had been turned outward began to shrink, scab, fall off, and grow new flesh. Even the sand, soil, and grass juice mixed in it was vomited out by the wound. 15 minutes passed, and all the injuries on Shen Shengxiang's body had healed, and tender new flesh had grown out of the large wounds. As a noble girl, Shen Shengxiang usually takes good care of herself, so although the color of the new flesh is a little different from the old flesh after it grows, it is not as big as the color difference of those big men in suits, so the flesh on her face is obviously lighter. The different colors are not too harsh on the eyes. Although it looks a bit weird, it is still visible. If you put on some foundation or something, the skin tone will probably be even. In fact, her current situation can be solved by taking a beauty pill, which will make all the flesh fair and uniform in color. But Baiqian Chun's goal has been achieved, so she doesn't really want to use her medicine on such a person. Body, so she kept silent and never mentioned the beauty elixir. Under a big tree not far away, Yao Wengxian and 4 others were observing secretly. After their eyes saw the changes in Shen Shengxiang after taking a pill, their breathing began to become rapid. Lao Lu Guanko touched his arm and said with bright eyes, "Our second sister-in-law's pills are so powerful. I wonder if they can treat burns." There had been an accident on the transport ship before. He, Lao Qi, and the people on the transport ship were all attacked by SSS-class fire-type superpowers, and their bodies were severely burned. Especially he, Lao Qi, and the steward Wang Yi, although they after treatment in the recuperation cabin and the light system, most of the burns on the body were healed, and the injuries on the face were treated at a great cost. However, the burns on the body were not completely healed, and some burn wounds were left. Wait for the time to slowly recover. But now he sees hope for a speedy recovery. He touched his brain and checked the amount in his account. He should be able to afford such pills. He just doesn't know if the second sister-in-law will accept the star coins. If the second sister-in-law doesn't accept it, he can also get some livestock or something. Lao Qi also looked eager to try. It should be possible. They are all wounds. Let's go over and ask. Guan Cao thought that he was right, but he did not take a step forward in a hurry. Instead, he turned to look at Yao Wengxian, who seemed to have taken root in the solace of his feet. Fourth brother, how long are we going to keep observing in secret? Everyone has dispersed now, can we go there? Yao Wengxian looked away and glanced at him. What do you know? I am observing the relationship status of your second brother and second sister-in-law. Those women made such a big fuss just now. Maybe your second sister-in-law is feeling uncomfortable. Let's go over there. Instead of causing trouble for them, let's give the couple some more time alone and wait until they have a conversation before we go there. Guan Cao's eyes were blank. Is that so? But there are other people over there, and it's not just the second brother and the second sister-in-law alone. Yao Wengxian nodded seriously. Yes, that's it. It was definitely not because he had a guilty conscience and didn't dare to go there. As for the others, if they don't speak, they are nothing. Surprisingly, Zhuangshu actually agreed with what he said. Because yesterday he was educated by Major General Baining, a model couple, and there is no danger on Wuyuan planet now. As an adjutant, he must learn to read the eyes and leave more time for his commander and his wife to be alone together. Don't talk to someone. It used a club-like pestle behind the two of them as a big, bright light bulb. Zhuangshu thought so. Guan Cao and Lao Qi looked at each other. The two singles, who had never been in a relationship and didn't know what a woman was, scratched their heads. Although they didn't understand much, they were still obedient. After nodding seriously, they stopped worrying about the introduction. I went over to say hello and ask about the pills. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. I became the richest man in the world by making meatballs. Author, Lanshan Lu Zy. Chapter 209. After sending Shen Shenxiang away, Baikan Chun's raised lips had not yet come down. She glanced in the direction of Yao Wengxian and the other four people. It was difficult to ignore the four people standing so obviously. After retracting her gaze, she looked at Feng Yuyu on the side and asked a little suspiciously, "What are they doing standing there? Why don't they come over?" Feng Yuyu, who was still a bit depressed, curled his lips and said in disgust, "Who knows what they are thinking about as big guys? Maybe there is something wrong with them. They suddenly want to stand here and be a quiet and well-behaved mushroom. Leave them alone." Baikan Chun's mouth twitched. This man was really hurtful, even his brother and adjutant were not spared. But it was none of her business as an outsider, so she simply didn't care. She walked over and spoke to Feng Tanggui, then stood up and walked towards the direction of thick weeds. As a star master, she couldn't be so lazy. She just squinted. After a while, I regained a lot of energy and it was time to participate in the cleanup activities together. Although Feng Yuyu's face was still ugly, she followed Bai Qianchun step by step. She was weeding and he followed suit. The giant shovel condensed from the golden element is particularly powerful. It is like a large excavator. When the shovel goes down, it brings up large areas of weeds and soil. In the blink of an eye, the land is shoveled into pits. There is a big pit on the left, a big hole on the right, and weeds. Piles were roughly dug aside and placed haphazardly. Bai Qianchun looked at the ground that looked like it had been gnawed by a dog, and the corner of his mouth couldn't help but twitch. But Feng Yuyu, a man who didn't know it himself, felt that he was very talented in farming, and gnawing a piece of it was not enough. He continued to gnaw deeper. Bai Qianchun didn't get used to him. She caught up and twisted her beautiful eyebrows and reprimanded mercilessly, "You dug too deep here. Who asked you to engage in free creation? Can you dig a little smoother, kid? You are better than you at what you do, and why are you shoveling the ground so deep? You have wiped out the chickens' food, so leave some grass roots for the chickens to peck at." Feng Yuyu froze and turned to look at her in disbelief. "I, a young prince who makes millions every minute, help you clear weeds and reclaim land? Is this how you treat me?" Bai Qianchun snorted coldly, "So what? You took the initiative to help, and what you touched was my land. The land you cultivated did not meet the requirements. Why can't I tell you? I understand that you are here to help. I'm not here to help you, otherwise what use would I have for you? Are you here to hold me back?" Feng Yu's handsome face flushed red, and he licked his back teeth. This damn woman really didn't give him any face. Just when Guan Xiao Lao Chi was watching with trepidation, fearing that their second brother's violent temper would impulsively beat his wife or quit the job, they were shocked to find that their second brother, who couldn't stand it at all, didn't even jump up and even vented his anger. Pressed back. Feng Yuyu blushed and snorted awkwardly, "I know." Although the tone was not very good, the actions were still carried out as required. The big golden shovel disappeared and transformed into a large sickle, which was swung against the ground towards the weeds, sweeping away a large area and falling down. After the performance, he looked at Bai Qianchun proudly, raised his chin and said, "How about that? That's all." Bai Qianchun discussed the matter and nodded appreciatively, "Yes, according to the standard, I will ask Erbian to add a bowl of vegetarian meat to you at noon." Feng Yuyu's eyes lit up and he nodded reservedly, "Okay, let him add more, and don't shake the spoon. I have a big appetite and eat a lot." After 2 meals last night and this morning, he already has a new view of this simple mu yun seeing. For example, the chef is a real chef, the kind that ordinary 5-star chefs cannot compare to, and even vegetarian dishes are, they made new tricks, and the key is that it tastes better than meat. Bai Qianchun, okay, just work hard and have enough food. An SSS level gold type power user is uniquely endowed in the field of land reclamation. Bai Qianchun still values this labor force very much, and he is not stingy about giving a sweet date after being given a big stick. After Bai Qianchun's education, Feng Yuyu was already doing his job well, and he was far ahead of other workers. The four people not far away had expressions of admiration on their faces. They were worthy of being their commander, second brother, and they were better than ordinary people at their work. Guan Cao moved his big feet on the spot and marveled, the second brother is really different from the second sister-in-law. This is love. Lao Qizhuangshu nodded in unison, isn't that right? Only Yao Wengzian rolled his eyes, love is nothing, they are a fake couple, where does the love come from? Guan Cao rubbed the back of his head and continued, well, we have nothing to do. Why don't we help the second sister-in-law weed the grass together? Lao Qi nodded cheerfully. They used to be very happy when picking up garbage. It was nothing to mow the grass, and they were happy to see such a large green area. It was much more comfortable than picking up garbage. Zhuangshu also rolled up his sleeves. As the chief's adjutant, since the chief was already working, he, the adjutant, was naturally bound to advance and retreat together with the chief. However, he kept in mind that he could not be a big and bright light bulb, so he found a job opposite to Feng Yuyu by Qianchun. Lao Lu and Lao Qi rolled up their sleeves and hurriedly followed. The remaining one, Yao Wengzian, stood there with a confused look on his face. Why on earth did this matter develop like this? This ancient medicine is poisonous. The most important thing is what happened to that boy Feng Yuyu. After being outnumbered, he didn't get angry but worked even harder. It didn't match his young master's temper. What kind of ecstasy soup did the ancient doctor give him? Or is it really like what Lao Lu said, because of love? Yao Wengzian touched his chin and started thinking. Fourth brother, come and help. Let's get rid of this big tree first. It's blocking the road. Oh, here we come, Yao Wengzian responded subconsciously, then turned around and walked in the direction of Lao Lu. In the same minute, General Manager Feng, who was worth millions, was shouted like a lumberjack. Living tool man. Half an hour later, Yao Wengzian took off his suit jacket and rolled up his sleeves. His clothes were stained with sawdust and grass juice, and his forehead was dripping with sweat. Yao Wengzian couldn't help but look at the sky. Why on earth was this? Fourth brother, chop me a few more times. Oh, here it comes. Yao Wengzian immediately gave up thinking. After wiping his face, Bigfoot walked over, condensed a golden machete in his hand and slashed at the gap in the giant tree. Tuck tuck tuck, sawdust was flying, and with the gentle breeze, it was scattered on the surrounding people. Standing in the downwind, Yao Wengzian once again felt the depression of having his face covered with sawdust. He did not hide this time, and gave up the struggle naturally as a habit. The sawdust was blown over, and the movement of the hand did not stop. Okay, it's almost done, we can push the tree. Fourth brother, you are in front, Adjutant Chuang, you are responsible for kicking, old seventh, we will work hard together. Okay. 1, 2, 3, push. With a rumble, another giant tree was successfully knocked down. The four tall men immediately became as excited as children, high-fiving each other in celebration. Yao Wengzian also smiled slightly, as if pushing the tree was a different kind of fun, which brought him back to the time when the brothers worked together to do the same thing on the garbage planet. At that time, everyone's feelings were pure. Although it is hard work, it is also worth remembering. I became the richest man in the world by making meatballs. Author, Lanshan Luzi. Chapter 210. Time to eat. A loud voice shouted, and suddenly everyone was busy working in the valley, whether it was the bodyguards who had taken off their black clothes but did not lose their sunglasses, or the star citizens who were fighting for the future of Muyuan planet, or the four members of the Yao Wengzian group, who were either idle or not, participated in the tree-cutting business. They all straightened up suddenly and turned their heads to look in the direction of the shouting. Their eyes seemed to have seen some stunning beauty, with bright lights in their eyes. Hot and hot. The star citizens took the lead in taking action. Xiao Yang came to deliver the food. It's great. We can finally eat. Lao Ye's stomach was so hungry that I could hear it from 2 trees away. Oh, you're still talking about me. You bad old man is the same. Your stomach is as loud as a drum and you're playing a rhythm. It's just like the sound you make when you snore at night. I don't think you wanted to learn how to build a star network in the first place. As a major, it would be more suitable for you to study in the war song department. Your sense of rhythm is amazing. Ah, you old man, maybe you were standing beside my bed and heard it. Why didn't you hear that I was complimenting you? The 2 old men were like cross-eyed chickens, and they were about to get angry. The old lady passing by gave them a disgusting look. You are so old, you still have the energy to argue here. Maybe you can still do it if you walk faster. Be at the front of the line. An old man ran by next to him and muttered, yes, 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 you are not active in eating, and you have a problem with your thinking. The 2 old men who were arguing with each other blushed. They turned away and snorted, then quickly caught up. No, they were working so hard just to stutter. They couldn't say anything at this time. Chain. Ya Yang led the 2 cakes, together with Ya Yongxiang and the girl Milan. Just as they had prepared the rice in the big pot, a group of old men and women with nimble legs and feet were already rushing over. Those who were ahead were very excited, but those who were a step behind were full of regrets, and then they quickly seized the position. After a while, a long queue was formed. Nongui and others did not dare to compete with this group of hot-tempered old men and women, and deliberately fell 1 step behind. After the last star citizen lined up, they quickly entered the line and followed them to the back. At this moment, the old man at the front stretched his neck to look at the large pots with lids still on them. He couldn't help but ask curiously, Boy Yang, what should we have for lunch today? Ya Yang performed a set of dexterous spoon skills while wielding the iron spoon, revealing 2 small tiger teeth, and answered with a bright smile, Grandpa Ya, our 2 chefs Len made something special for us today. Dang dang, I have lotus-flavored black rice here. He opened the big pot, and a stream of white steam spurted out from the pot. The fragrance of lotus leaves mixed with the soft and glutinous aroma of black rice immediately drifted into the mouths and noses of the people in the front row, and then swept away in all directions. The heat of noon was immediately suppressed by the scent, and was replaced by a grunting sound one after another, which suddenly aroused everyone's greed. The heads in the front of the queue eagerly stretched their heads over and saw the black rice in the pot, which was as black as honeycomb coal. Each grain was as big as an ordinary soybean. It looked clear and shiny, glutinous and sticky, sticking together. You can tell at a glance that this black rice is of excellent quality. His Royal Highness held a cigarette pole and also cast her gaze over. The desire to buy arose in her heart. She turned her head and looked at the bright and delicate girl beside her, with sweat stains on her forehead and an unusually calm and indifferent expression. She raised her red lips and asked, the quality of this black rice is good. How is the yield? Do you want to sell it? Baikin Chun's eyes flashed, and he took out his optical brain and checked the list of approximate distribution and yield of various plants in Wuyuan Star sent by Yachin. He quickly found the records of black rice. Black rice is distributed in there is a plain area in the southeast of Wuyuan Star, with a planting area of up to 1,000 acres, and the yield is of course extremely high. She pursed her lips and nodded quickly, sell it, of course. As for the output, it's no problem. It can probably fit most of the battleships. Okay, buy it all. His Royal Highness didn't even ask the price, and just made a generous purchase of black rice. Bai Qianchun had already seen her generosity. Her expression was very calm, and then she made a final confirmation and asked, don't think about it anymore? You haven't tasted it yourself yet. His Royal Highness the Prince's beautiful eyes narrowed slightly on his charming face, and he chuckled in a deep and seductive voice, "Oh, you don't need to taste it? I can't tell the difference between good ingredients with my well-informed eyes. Besides, Mu and the agricultural products produced by Xing will not be bad." Bai Qianchun raised the corners of her lips with satisfaction. As long as His Highness doesn't steal the little man, he can still speak quite nicely. Fen Yu, who was following her, frowned and was a little dissatisfied. "I want to buy it too. Your Highness must leave some for others." Qin Menyun looked over with a pair of beautiful eyes with determination, but his tone was not nice to Bai Qianchun at all. He was even extremely domineering and strong. "If you don't keep it, the thing that I like is my prince's. Why should I keep it? You want to steal something from me, but according to the relationship with the prince, you have to call me aunt. Otherwise, if you call me aunt, I will leave you 2 or 3 kilograms to stuff between your teeth. Can?" Fen Yu looked at her smiling and playful look, and raised her head disdainfully. "What kind of ant is not an ant? Who are you insulting by leaving 2 or 3 kilograms behind? Humph, I won't buy it if I don't. Anyway, I won't buy it. The owner of Muyuan Star is my wife, and I am half the owner of Muyuan Star. I will not argue with you as my guest. As long as my wife is here, I will not be afraid of running out of food in the future. I was indeed wrong before. As an outsider, His Royal Highness is not as lucky as I am, so he really needs to stock up on more goods. This man's mouth is really poisonous, and he is very capable of this yin and yang and irritating tone." The corners of Bai Qianchun's mouth twitched, feeling inexplicably lucky, and feeling in her heart that he was already very polite when speaking to her. Fortunately, although His Highness the Prince was domineering, he was still a somewhat restrained person. He was not so angry that he rolled up his sleeves and started beating her up on the spot, but his smile while blowing out smoke rings was a bit scary. Although there were some twists and turns in the final sale of black rice, it still went on smoothly, and thousands of acres of black rice were reserved by His Highness the Prince. Bai Qianchun had a smile on her face, thinking that Erbeing Daddy had something good. They said that good things need to be displayed so that more people can buy them. It was indeed good. Otherwise, although the large Golden Valley is beautiful, the nobles who come to Jupiter to experience picking activities will definitely not bother to harvest the rice fields. Their markets are far from beautiful and delicious fruits that can be picked and eaten right away. Good. Sorry, dear friends, the line outside the village burned down today, and the power was out all afternoon. I couldn't catch up with the code, so I'll post one chapter first, and another chapter will be posted later in the evening.